Nothing happened? I guess that means 11 and I have one thing in common. We don't got superpowers. I cracked myself up. What's going on, everyone? James here with another real review of a very anticipated season of television. That's right, Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. A big thank you to Netflix for giving me the chance to watch this early for review. You can watch Volume 1 on May 27th. Yes, this week, the first 7 episodes for Volume 1 release, and then we got Volume 2, which are episodes 8 and 9, that release on July 1st. You can expect a review for those as well. But today we're getting into all my spoiler-free thoughts, and I cannot wait. Now, in case you've forgotten, yes, this show is created by the Duffer brothers, and it stars a huge ensemble cast featuring Millie Bobby Brown as our leading lady, 11, and then you have Finn Wolfhard, you got, goodness gracious, Caleb McLaughlin, Natalia, Dyer, Sadie Sink, Joe, Keery, Maya, Hawke, Winona, Ryder, David, Harbour, and so many more that we will talk about in this review. Now, not everyone probably remembers what happened in Season 3, and I'm not going to recap Season 3, but let's at least talk about what Season 4 I guess is going to deliver, and I won't spoil anything again. It's coming straight from Netflix, I promise. It's been 6 months since the Battle of Starcourt, which brought terror and destruction to Hawkins. Struggling with the aftermath, our group of friends are separated for the very first time, and they're navigating the complexities of high school, which haven't made things any easier. In this most vulnerable time, a new and horrifying supernatural threat surfaces, presenting a gruesome mystery that, if solved, might finally put an end to the horrors of the Upside Down. Ooh, mystery, I know, but trust me, it's even more exciting than it sounds. Now, before we get into my review, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies and TV like this all the time, so if you do too, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button again if you're a huge fan of Stranger Things, and let me know down below in the comments which season so far is your favorite, and if you've already seen Volume 1 of Season 4 by this time, let me know. What'd you guys think of it? Alrighty, so you know what? Let's start off on an optimistic note and get into my positives for this season, and it begins with this. Season 4, Volume 1 is the best season of Stranger Things since the very first season. Yes, I did not stutter, and it's due in large part to the cinematography, the score and soundtrack, even the direction, which we'll start with there because the direction here is just incredible. There are so many storylines at play here, and sometimes when TV shows do that by introducing the A plot, the B plot, the C plot, and so on and so forth, it can get a little convoluted, but here I feel like the direction is strong enough to where we're transitioning seamlessly between each plot, and it worked for the most part. My favorite episodes really are episodes 4 and 7, 4 being directed by Shawn Levy and 7 by the Duffer brothers. The tone this season, guys, is also the most mature tone yet. Each episode brings the best out of our cast, and that is largely due to the direction here, which is maybe as strong as it's ever been in this show. But let's now move on to the cinematography, because I'm a sucker for cinematography, and here there are some absolutely breathtaking shots. But the biggest takeaway for me here was that the horror moments felt that much better due to the unique angles that this show really hasn't dove into before Season 4. The quick juts of the camera, the very fast pans between different settings, it is just beautiful to witness, and I really think that fans are going to enjoy that. I know as a horror fan, I enjoyed the heck out of what they delivered here because there's so much to talk about in that area, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here, and let's dive into the score and the soundtrack, because yes, guys, Stranger Things has some amazing scores and soundtracks so far, but this might be its strongest yet. There are so many synth sounds that we're used to, but I think the soundtrack is also pretty darn cool for the late 80s. I found myself tapping my foot. Kate Bush has an amazing song here, and I just love how they just sort of play with the score and the different sound cues on screen. And what I mean by that is there are so many moments here where the score is pulse pounding, or even if it's just present in the background, it's very noticeable. And then when a character does something on screen, whether it be tightening a belt or sharpening a blade, that is just an example, of course, it fits in perfectly with the score. So it's this diegetic sound that it's playing with on screen, and coupling that with the score, it's just so cool, it's clever, and it really works for me. And then there's the writing, which is not always great this season, but I did enjoy the narrative for the most part in Volume 1. There's a cleverness to the script here, and I can't tell you exactly why because that would be a spoiler, but I do love Eleven's storyline here, and trust me, there are going to be many head-scratching moments, including the cold open for the season 4 premiere, but stick with it because it will reveal itself, and there are some things that happen towards the end of this volume that are mind-blowing. And the last thing in this section, guys, is the editing that just blew me away. It's just incredible to see how there were so many clever transitions, and honestly, yes, the camera work is great here, but I loved how the cuts felt very natural, and the editing stuck out in a good way and not in a bad way for me, and it's probably the strongest bit of editing that we've gotten in Stranger Things to date. Okay, I know I'm saying that there are a lot of firsts for this show in season 4, but let me add another one to that list, and that is the scare factor for season 4. This is the scariest season of Stranger Things, guys. It is just incredibly chilling, and there are some moments that really had me turning away from the screen or closing my eyes. No pun intended. If you know, you know. The very first episode even in this season sets the bar very high for the scares. There's a lot of body horror, there's gore, there's graphic imagery, and it all is very nightmarish. And then there's the creature designs, you guys, which are just incredible. I mean, all the way from our main antagonist, who I of course cannot name, but our main antagonist, all the way to even the Demogorgon that is shown here is just so cool. And the CGI, you can tell it's been upgraded, but there's this amazing blend of prosthetic work as well. So they do a good job at marrying the two, and you can definitely tell that the production budget was, well, pretty high, as we all know, but it was used very well in the season so far. But outside of our disgusting creatures, of course, we gotta talk about our ensemble cast of humans because they're pretty darn good in season 4. I could go on for hours, guys, but we're gonna begin with just some standouts here, and that starts with Sadie Sink as Max. I mean, guys, Sadie Sink was already one of those scene stealers for me in season 3, but here in season 4, her acting is just on another level. Episode 4 really was her moment to shine, and she delivered the best performance, I think, of the season in that episode, where she just comes with so much emotion, and she brings a ton of, well, let's just say heartfelt moments, for better or for worse. I can neither confirm nor deny that I teared up during episode 4, but my gosh, Sadie Sink, take a bow. Now let's move on to the next standout, which is Joe Keery as Steve, and he is a fan favorite, I get it, but oh my gosh, is he so consistent in this season. To me, he's the biggest star over the past 2 seasons of Stranger Things, and he definitely delivers a lot of charm and charisma that I loved so much in season 3, and he's amazing alongside Robin as well. Maya Hawke and Joe Keery just do a great job at their back and forth dialogue. It is a beautiful friendship, and you can definitely tell that they're having fun with their roles. There's a lot of effective humor here between the two, and man, they're just a great duo. But it really is, you know, I guess you could say evident that Joe Keery is the one guy who is, well, the focal point for many scenes in the season. And one newcomer to Stranger Things, Joseph Quinn, who plays Eddie Munson, the leader of the Hellfire Club, is incredible. Yes, this is a Dungeons and Dragons club that Lucas, Mike, and Dustin are a part of, but man, he is so vibrant, I want to say, with his performance. Very exuberant, he's eccentric very often, but his attitude really is rebellious at the end of the day. But what this season does the best with his character is peel back the layers of who Eddie Munson is. And the closer we get to the end of Volume 1, to me, I started to learn more about Eddie Munson, who might look like a bully on paper, but the man is, he's a softie in a good way. And before we dive into Millie Bobby Brown's performance, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Natalia Dyer as Nancy Wheeler. There's really something about her acting here that it just works because of the previous seasons, the context to her character. One who was pretty naive now is not innocent, and she is getting a lot of hero moments in this season, and I love that. She just made me cheer for her in her performance. I really love the dynamic between her and Steve this season as well. They're building to something that can only make me ship them even more, but that's all I can say. And let's continue with the duos here, because yes, Nancy and Robin somehow, some way became the favorites in the season for me. I don't know, I loved the budding friendship between these two, and there's a very particular scene that involves Maya Hawke just doing something so great alongside Natalia Dyer, and that's all I can say. It is just so fun, but I really do love Natalia Dyer's performance here. Okay, so now let's get into Millie Bobby Brown's performance as 11, and yes, this season focuses heavily on 11, but not just on her present, but her past. We get flashbacks that include Dr. Brenner, and let me be honest, I love the fact that this show allows us to explore the trauma for 11. Not that we haven't done that in the past in previous seasons, but we're getting into her psyche, and they're not holding back any punches. And of course, there's another side to this coin, which is Millie Bobby Brown doing a great job at portraying the awkward student in a new town after leaving Hawkins and having her father Harbour, of course, taken from her. Quite frankly, some of the most emotional and impactful scenes in this season center around Millie Bobby Brown, and man, there is this scene, there is this moment in episode 7 that just took my breath away, and I almost leapt out of my chair. Actually, I might have done that. But guys, what would Stranger Things be without some effective humor, right? And this season really does a good job at giving us a lot of Murray, who's played by Brett Gelman. He is literally the saving grace for so many scenes that involve Joyce and Harbour, but that's all I'm gonna say because there are some comments I have to make about, that storyline, without spoiling anything, of course, but Brett Gelman is just incredible here. And you know what, before we get into the negatives, let's talk about some of these relationships that the show is building out also. I empathized heavy with Lucas and Max here. It is just so cool to see the dynamic, nature of their relationship. Yes, Lucas is a freshman and there are so many things happening. He is playing basketball now, for example, and that is not on par with what his character was doing prior to season 4, but there are a lot of elements there that I just thought, man, I feel for them. Then you have Steve, who clearly has feelings for Nancy, and even Robin's love interest is explored a bit earlier in the season. There's just so much effective storytelling here that makes me root for these characters, and I genuinely feel invested in their stories. But then you have Mike and 11, right? You were probably wondering, why did I talk about them? They're present, but that's probably a good transition into the negatives, you guys. Like I mentioned earlier, there are several storylines at play in this season, but not every storyline worked for me. And that's not to say I don't like the actors that we're about to talk about. I think they do a good job with these characters. It's just the writing here was probably at its weakest. So let's start with Joyce and Harbour. As you know, Harbour in the trailer was shown to be alive, of course, but Joyce, she is dealing with this new town on the West Coast with her family and 11, or Jane as most people know her, but I just never felt like moments that involved the Joyce Harbour storyline were very intriguing, and if anything, they were pretty underwhelming. It took 4 episodes for their storyline to even be intriguing to me, and I think that's 4 episodes too long. And then there's Jonathan and Argyle. Jonathan is best buds with this new kid named Argyle, and they get sent on an adventure of their own as well. But let me be honest with you, I don't think that their moments together were that memorable. There's just so much to talk about in terms of their acting as well, but I felt like they were supposed to maybe have a bigger role and maybe it was cut down the line. It just didn't feel like it fit for me. And like I just mentioned, you guys, Mike and 11, their character development together is quite forgettable and honestly a non-factor so far this season. And that's disappointing to me because I actually was really rooting for them in previous seasons and they did a good job at building them up together. But in this season, it just feels like they were really thrown by the wayside and it doesn't really do anything for me past 1, 2, or even 3 episodes. It just stinks that some of these storylines hurt the momentum at times during Volume 1 when they really should have been propping up the story. So now let's move on to the next negative, which is one thing that I felt was super noticeable in the season, and that was, that most of these actors have aged out of their roles. That was my biggest concern coming into this because there has been a little bit of time between Season 3 and Season 4, and then COVID hit, so you can tell there were some delays and whatnot, but guys, these characters do not look like high schoolers. You have Caleb McLaughlin, who I thought has done a good job in every season, and he even does a pretty darn good job here in Season 4, but man, his character was written pretty poorly. They try to give him some mannerisms, I'd imagine, that it just doesn't fit for his character. He is not looking like a freshman, guys. I'm sorry. They do a good job at letting us know he's a freshman, including during one basketball game early on in the season, but it just never worked. Like, my mind could not just suspend belief enough for me to say, they definitely look like high schoolers, because they don't. And then you have Finn Wolfhard as Mike, who is definitely not believable for his age. There were so many moments where you can tell he was trying to force those high school mannerisms to come out, but whew, guys, it did not work. Heck, even Charlie Heaton as Jonathan does not look like someone who just graduated high school. To me, he might be the worst offender in terms of actors aging out of their roles for our main cast here. Yeah, guys, it's one of those things that it's a stickler for me because the way that they're trying to deliver certain lines, it just never really makes that emotional connection with me. And while the acting for the most part was really good to even great in this season, there are actually some performances here that don't move the needle for me. And I know we just mentioned him too, but Finn Wolfhard as Mike, guys, something about his performance so far in season 4 has me almost worried for the next 2 episodes, the final 2 episodes of the season, because there's not much runway left, and I definitely don't think that his line delivery was very strong in this season. He is really kind of lackluster in some other scenes, and honestly he is kind of pedestrian in most, and that is kind of disappointing. And then there's Eduardo Franco as Argyle, who was supposed to be this chill friend, and I get it, he smokes weed, he's the comic relief, but this character just didn't work for me. His pairing alongside Charlie Heaton as Jonathan, they're supposed to be 2 buds who smoke weed together. Yeah, I get it, I know where they're going with this, guys, but boy, all of it was never funny. None of it was very memorable. And these next mentions might make you yell at me through the screen, but trust me, it's not because these aren't great actors. I know they are, but this season did these actors a disservice. Winona Ryder, great. Didn't do the best job as Joyce here. I just felt like her performance was a little disappointing because I know what she can bring for this show. And then David Harbour as Jim Hopper just wasn't given a lot of material, so even when he was given screen time, it kind of felt like they didn't know too much what to do with him and his acting ability here. And you have Noah Schnapp who plays Will Byers, who is like kind of non-existent, to be honest. And even for the first time, I think, in this series, he's not really a central focal point for most scenes. That is welcome in some regards, but when you take him out of that spotlight, his character is reduced to someone who I thought was just kind of there. But overall, you guys, you might be thinking, oh my god, you hated season 4 after all those negatives, but I'm gonna be honest, I really love this season. Now, I'm saying that so far because I've only gotten the first 7 episodes. Guys, season 4 volume 1 of Stranger Things is one of the best seasons. Actually, it is the best season since season 1. It is just incredible. There's so much that works here for me. The storylines are written very effectively, and I think that the way they produced this season, man, it just took my breath away in some moments. But the one thing that works the most is the horror. It is scary and it's genuinely terrifying. It's gross, disgusting, and oh my gosh, I couldn't believe at some of the lengths they went to display these characters being traumatized by our main antagonist. I was cringing at times, but not in a bad way. It's just because I felt the spaghetti come up, and yeah, don't eat during some of these episodes. It's not going to be pleasant for you, but oh my gosh, is this a joy if you're looking to be scared, if you're looking for a more mature season, and even if you're looking for performances to just blow your mind, this season's got all of that and much more. Even though some of the storylines don't work for me, and I have to admit, some of the performances here surprised me in a bad way, I actually felt that those negatives don't take away enough from this volume of television for me to say it's not worth watching. If you're a Stranger Things fan, I definitely recommend it. If you're new to this season, if you just binge watch seasons 1 through 3, I think this is going to be a treat for you. However, you're going to want to get comfortable because these episodes are long, but that actually didn't affect me in any which way. Were there some moments where the momentum was stopped like we mentioned? Yes, there were some storylines that weren't doing it for me, but I didn't mind the length. And you know what, guys? Most of these episodes are paced so darn well to where, yes, these episodes are like an hour and 15 minutes. The episode 7 is like an hour and almost 40 minutes. But you know what? It went by like that. So there you have it, you guys. That's my spoiler-free review of Season 4, Volume 1 of Stranger Things on Netflix. Yes, May 27th. So when you see it, let me know down below in the comments if you agree with me, disagree with me, or if you want to shout out your favorite performance here, let me know down below as well. Guys, there is so much to love here. This is like a strong 4 out of 5 for me, maybe 4.5 out of 5 after I let this kind of marinate a little bit more, because season 1 is a 5 out of 5 clearly, and this is right behind it. Ooh, it was so fun to talk about this, and I don't know how I did it without spoiling anything, but I might consider maybe doing a little spoiler review on the channel. Who knows? But I am just so excited to continue talking about Stranger Things with all you guys, because guys, this is setting up for an epic 2-part season finale. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And hopefully it won't be in the Upside Down. I don't want to be there. It looks terrible. They got to get some AC in there or something. It looks hot.